Okay, so here's our glaze wall. Everything from there all the way to here is for glazes, and we have over glazes and we have under glazes. And this labeling, this high sophisticated labeling, is trying to help people identify what's in the columns, all these columns, numbering from that side to this side. And the first 3 columns are, well, actually the first 4 columns are under glazes. We have this sign here that says under glazes, and then we have over glazes go this way. So we're trying to make that align. Now the difference between an underglaze and an overglaze is underglazes make for detail. Like these dots, no, not those dots. These, the names, the letters on this, those are very much inside the clay, and they stayed exactly that way because it's done with an underglaze. If it was done with an overglaze, it would have all ran together. So let's see if I can find another. On the members pots that we do, when they use their black designs, they put their black designs down with the underglaze, and it stays exactly how they put it. So that's how we know to keep details that you use that. But the finish of an underglaze is a matte finish. It comes out matte, so it's dull, so to speak. But any details that you want that you don't want them to wash away need to be done with an underglaze. Now, in theory, these are supposed to be underglazes for bisqueware. Maybe. We're still working on finding out, like where you put it down and it has a glossy finish. So this will all be matte finish, and these will all have a glossy finish, okay? And these supposedly, if we put them down as details, they're supposed to not wash away, but they might. I haven't quite seen a good example yet to know for sure if that's what it's going to do. But one thing I can tell you about these is that they're opaque. So underglazes are opaque. This one, the foundations, they're opaque. And right now, foundations is just this column, because we don't have that many yet. And then from here over, I'll give you all those details. But up to this point, they act like underglazes in that they stay, the line or the mark or whatever it is you're using will stay exactly how you put it down. This one has a glossy finish though, and all of these have a matte finish. Okay? So opaque means you can't see through it. It's not transparent. From here over, there's transparency. So if you have like 1 or 2 layers, you probably will be able to see through the level of clay, the level of glazes. But if you have like 5 or 9 layers, it'll be more opaque. So the more layers you put down, the more opaque it is. Otherwise it's semi-gloss. Semi-transparent. Okay? Now, this one and this one, these 2 columns here are special glazes, like elementals, like crystal glazes, things that have stuff in it. So like if you look inside here and you see all the little speckles, those little speckles are going to burst at the heat, and they leave behind a pizzazz, some kind of extra to it. You know, like all of these little blue and green marks, they'll leave behind a burst of that color. And that's what crystal glazes do. And elementals, they also do that too. But this is, I don't really know how to describe what is the difference between these and that. Because these are elementals, so they probably use, instead of like a glass burst, they probably use like a mineral or something like that. But all of these will have this color, and then when you fire them, they all look like that at first. But when you fire them, they'll completely change. Completely change. Okay, so underglazes, foundations, underglaze. Then we have our crystal and elementals. These are the fun ones, the pizzazz. And then from here over here, if you want to slide down, you can. We'll just like make a little bit of room. From here over, these have our the leftover brand of overglazes, and then everything else is a stroke coat. We call it stroke coat. This is Mako brand, and this is Duncan. Not a big deal. These are going away, so you don't really need to learn about them. But if it has an IN on them, then they operate like these do. And these are just, you know, the more coats you put on, they're basic colors. They don't have any pizzazz. They are exactly what they say they are. And we have these booklets that will help you figure out, oops. So here's our underglazes for that side over there. The foundations. Where is the, I don't know. Oh no, here it is. Okay, so the crystal glazes, they look like that. And there's another booklet that'll show you these ones. Where did it go? It was here, I swear. We'll find it. We'll find it later, but they are exactly what they say they are as far as the color goes. And I'll show you back here. Maybe there's a good example. Nope, not that one. And basically, that's basically it. Do you have any questions? No, you can't think of anything? We have back here, we have palettes for you to put your glaze in. It's not paint, it's called glaze. But I can realize, seeing somebody decided not to clean up after themselves, that's lame. That's not cool. Somebody else is gonna have to clean up after that person, and they should probably just, you know, not be in this class.
I'll clean it for you.
We have these over here, where these are where you can make a really decent line, and they have a glossy finish. So the big thing about this side of the glazes is that the glossy finish will have like a shimmer to it. A high gloss is going to have like where you see the reflective quality of the light a lot, and then a satin finish, which we don't keep. We have a few satins, but it's got a more dulled finish, but it's still gloss. And then of course, like I showed you before, the matte finish on the underglazes. But then once you've done this, you put a clear coat over this, and it's going to be glossy like that. Put a clear over it, and all those details will stay. What else can I tell you about this? This is always good. It's good to have an undercoat of the underglazes. I believe it's good to have an undercoat, and then put your other glazes on top of it, and it makes it for more depth.
How many coats do you recommend?
I recommend doing at least 2 to 3, and try to make them even. So like, let's say there's here's a good example. Like on this one here, you see how you can see the brush strokes? You can see them. Now this person did it nice and even all the way around, so that's cool. But if you don't want to see your brush strokes where the clay underneath is exposed, then you want to like put them on one layer, let it dry, put on another layer, like crisscross the layers, and then it'll cover better. We don't really have anything we dip in here. See, and this is like an underglaze for the coils. They just do an underglaze, that's going to stay exactly the same, and then they could put a clear coat over this, which I recommend doing, especially if you're going to use it functionally. If it's going to hold water or anything like that, or be like something you're going to use to eat with or drink from, you probably want a clear coat over it to protect it. And this is kind of rough and porous, whereas this is like, this would be covered. But the more layers, the better if you're covering it. And like on textured stuff, like this right here, you have all that really awesome texture in there, and it's very transparent. So you can see the body of clay underneath it because it's so transparent. So they probably did maybe 2 layers on here, but it makes that texture really pop. And that's what it would. So if this had maybe more layers on there, it would be more opaque. But this is very much transparency. But these act really good with texture, and that's kind of something you want to get used to, is having texture on stuff. What else? But that's a good question. 2 to 3 layers. Let them dry in between each layer. Let's see. You use the palettes, or you can use paper. You need water, but not a lot of water. That's a good thing to tell you now. Actually, is we don't want to add water to this. It will cause it to what they call shiver, which is like splintering. The glaze will just lift right off the body and be like really sharp, almost like shards of glass. Oh, it's my mother. She's just calling to bug. But the way to deal with that, because they get really chunky, they get kind of chunky and they get kind of like pasty. We don't want it pasty. You want it to be like yogurt. You want it to be like spreading yogurt. And it does have a chalky feel to it before it's fired. And then when it gets in the fire, the chemical reactions that happen with the high heats, they change. So what to do with it if it's really pasty and too thick is just stick it in the microwave for like 5 seconds at a time. I would let this breathe, you know, see, like that. That's so chunky. But give it a good whipping. Just put it over here, stick it in there, and do it for like, do it for like 5 seconds at a time. Okay, I know how to work this. Not for longer, just little bits at a time, because they do get really hot. See how it's already loosened up? So it's not like a thick thing right there anymore, it's starting to loosen up. So that's the way to go about it if it gets too pasty and too thick. Instead of adding water, just microwave it for 5 seconds at a time. Oh, I don't need to put that. But we try to keep them organized with colors, by their colors. This changes all the time. It's important for people to know that they need to put them back where they belong. Like, you don't want to put one of these over here, because then someone's going to think that they act like these over here. Or vice versa, you know. And you only want to put your glazes on bisqueware, because it's going to hold it'll hold the glaze. If you put an overglaze on greenware and something blows up in the kiln, it's going to stick to this glaze and it won't come off. So that's important to know, to make sure you do it on the right process at the right time. Can you think of anything? What can you imagine? See, this one here has got covered. This one's covered really nicely. That's really nice. There's no brush strokes, maybe a little bit, but hardly. You can hardly see those brush strokes. It looks really even. The finish looks really even all the way around, right? Sometimes people want it to be like that, but most of the time people are unhappy. It just looks cheap, you know? Like, you can see the difference right here versus out here. You know, makes it just look unfinished. But you don't want to do too much. Sometimes, and the crystal glazes might be more likely to do this, where they just run and they drip and then you have this big old glob. And you don't want that. We don't want that either.
Something went wrong. Please try again.
Something went wrong. But yeah, like my eyelashes on this one, they were an underglaze first to bisqueware, fired it, and then it becomes very much a part of it. It's permanently part of the clay body. And then you do your overglazes after that. With that, will be staying the same. That line will stay.
How long should you wait before putting another layer of glaze on top?
Just until it looks dry. And when it looks dry, then you can add another layer, and it'll just, they kind of like stack. They stack on top of each other. What do you
That's all
think?
the questions I have.
No more questions? I can't think of anything that really is going to stand out either. Like
How much do you think you have to put on the thing every layer?
You mean as far as getting prepared for it? These pallets are pretty good as far as you don't have to do. It spreads pretty well. Usually, just filling one of these in, you can probably paint. Like I painted that whole bowl. I have underglazes on here, but then I have overglazes on here too. And I would say one full. I had 2 different colors plus white, and I just went back and forth, and so those covered me really well. So you don't need a glob. You don't need a whole bunch. You just want to make sure it's like yogurt, and when you spread it, you want to have a wet brush, but you don't want it to be. You don't want the water to be the thing that's covering because of the shivering, and that's like worse than a paper cut when it does that.
So like a moist brush?
A moist brush, yeah. And then make sure you rinse your own brush out and put it back where it belongs. Yeah, that's a good question too. See, like this one here, this person made it, and then these black parts, these are underglazes. I can tell by the way it feels. Where the overglazes have a real chalkiness to them. This person needs to maybe like put a clear coat over it, and it will be ready to go. After that clear coat, it'll be all finished, and all those details right there will stay as they are. Yeah. I've tried to like have these things separated out here so that you can see a good example of it. Like a crystal glaze right here, that's what they'll do. All these little things that come off of here, all those little dingleberries or whatever these things are inside of there, they'll just run, and like I said, it will pile up. So if you're going to use any of these, you don't want to wipe them away. If I stirred this up, I don't have a stir. So when these are on there, they just kind of pack on there. They just sit there and they rest on there. You don't want to flick them off. Yeah, let's do that. So I'm going to get all this down here. It settles. All of the glazes, they need a good shaking, a good stirring before you put them on. And it's got to be like yogurt. That's a good consistency to spread. There it goes.
So you said you should shake them before using it?
Yeah, shake them, stir them, especially these ones. So like if I'm going to paint this on, these are going to, the little things. So let's pretend I'm painting.
Do you have the pen?
Those little bursts of material, they'll burst and they'll run and they'll add that flavor to the glaze. So a lot of times it'll be dry and they'll be trying to flick them off because they'll think they're not supposed to be there, but they are supposed to be there. That's how the color goes wild. That's how the color goes wild. But yeah, can you think of anything else? I think that might do it for now. I don't know. The old video just had too many things that have changed since then. That was 10 years ago. Gee whiz, that was 10 years ago. Yeah, to know what the colors look like, look for these booklets up here. There's a stroke coat one, but I don't know where the stroke coat one went. It was here. And that's kind of weird. It's probably around here somewhere. Like everything is all over the place. But yeah, that should do it. Yeah, thank you. glazes. The glazes, they run from here all the way over to this cabinet here, from here down. Okay, I'm going to explain to you what each of these different glazes are.
Okay, so first of all, we still have underglazes for greenware.
Right, and we're going to improve the signs, but
That's
for right now,
these right here.
the signs are telling you that
They
this is
say
underglaze for greenware.
Fundamentals.
So
They
write
say
that down.
underglazes on them.
Underglazes for greenware, and we
And
have underglazes for bisqueware.
underglazes for bisqueware, which I'm about to say next, we think is probably
These
this.
ones are for greenware.
Okay, let's
so
go
that's
on.
Before the first fire, which is the bisque fire. These glazes will go on a project that you want to have covered solid. You want it to have details that stay. You want to have like a backdrop coating or coloring to it so that when you do over glazes, it makes it deeper or more vibrant, or those details are there so that they can stay permanently part of the clay. When you fire these with the greenware, it becomes attached, like becomes part of the clay body. It's not just resting on top of it. It like actually kind of soaks in and gets fired and permanently part of the clay. Okay. These have, when you're dealing with any of the glazes, you need to be able to read these labels. The labels right here for this kind of glaze is going to be called a CC for cover coat. That stands cover coat, and any of these numbers, they correspond to the charts so that you can go and look at the charts to see what they look like. Okay. These numbers and letters are going to help you make a difference between the bottom.
Okay, so nowadays
Now,
we have
if I set all of these together,
UG for underglaze. Okay, not CCs anymore.
if I set all of these
And the
together
charts,
for you,
look 'em
these
up.
all basically
We have,
look the same.
instead of a poster
And the
chart,
labels are
we
the
now
same,
have
blue and white. They're
these
in the
booklets.
same graphic orientation. The only thing that's different about these is knowing what the letters are. Right? So like IN right there for an overglaze. IN right there for an overglaze. So this one's in the wrong spot. Hi Josh. Okay. Here's another one in the wrong spot. Okay, CR for crystal glaze or CC for cover coat. So it's important that you can read the labels to know what glaze is which, whether it's an overglaze, a cover coat glaze, an underglaze, or a crystal glaze, because these all look the same. Okay, they all look the same. Now we're going to talk more about the differences, so hold on to that thought. All right, back to the underglazes for greenware. These are going to fire at a hotter temperature, like the greenware hot temperature, at about 1900. It's very important that you keep these to the greenware. You can use them on bisqueware, but they come out differently. The finish of these is a matte finish. So if you look up here at this pot,
Okay, so nowadays
that is
the labels are
painted
all
with underglaze for greenware.
different.
It went into the kiln. It
But you
comes
still
out,
should
and that
read
is
the
now
labels.
permanently part
Figure out
of
what
the
you
greenware.
want.
What can happen next is you put a clear coat over that, and that finish, that matte finish, will become brighter and glossy. Okay, right now it's just porous and flat and what we consider a matte finish. Okay. We try to keep these color coded, so oranges with oranges, yellows with yellows, purples with purples. Same with the rest of them over there. We try to keep them color coded when we're organizing them. Now the difference between an underglaze for greenware and an underglaze for bisqueware is that this goes on bisque, not on greenware. This is going to have a glossy finish to it. And with the glossy finish, that means that things will stick to it. So it's very important that you don't put these on greenware because they have a glossy finish. In a greenware, a bisque fire is when things
Okay, so
blow
again,
up.
just to reiterate,
So if you
underglazes
put a
for
glossy
greenware,
finish on it, then it's going to get attached
how you put them on, the way you brush them on, the line, the dot, whatever, it will stay exactly the way you put it on. It won't disappear and bleed into the overglazes. And this, we believe, is the underglaze for bisqueware, possibly. I'm pretty sure it might be. It is opaque, meaning you can't see through it. And as far as I know, the lines you put down, the dots you put down, like the overglazes for bisqueware in the past, this kind of takes the place of that. And this has a matte finish, and this has a glossy finish. That's why this can go on underglazes. This underglaze can go on greenware because it has a matte finish. If it had a glossy finish, we couldn't use it for the first fire.
That is different than overglazes. Overglazes do not stay detail and clean. They will run and move around and blend and bleed. Alright, so these are good for doing detail that you want to stay the same, not change in the fire. Alright, so underglazes, that's the thing that makes underglazes, no matter if it's a bisqueware or a greenware, the same is that they will hold the detail. Okay? Now I'm going to jump from these two over to these two. This family right here and this family right here, these are overglazes. Overglazes go over a project. They are glossy finish. They will run, they will bleed, they will move around the clay, and they don't stay detail oriented like those do. So if I was going to paint a line for eyebrows and lips with overglazes on that project, they'll just sort of like melt. Okay? They'll just melt down. You can't control the overglazes like that. Some of these, again, you need to learn to read the labels.
Dunkin' is now discontinued. We still have some Dunkin'.
For the Dunkin' brand,
Just a little bit left of
Dunkin'
Dunkin'.
brand has
We do use
it has
the
semi-translucent
clear coat of
that
Dunkin'.
you can see through
Okay,
the glaze,
which again,
to
read the
clay
labels.
body.
This
And that's
clear
particularly important
looks
if you
the
have
same
texture.
as
You will be able to see through to that texture, and it will pull
this
inside the
satin,
texture and leave a
which
nice
also
effect.
looks the same
If it
as
says opaque,
the
that
white.
means you cannot see through it. So you might want to write that down. Transparency or translucent.
Okay, so read
to
the
opaque.
labels.
Opaque meaning that you cannot see through it. Okay? I'll leave these right here for you to copy that down. Again, pay attention to the letters. The IN means an overglaze. That stands for envision. That's a Dunkin' thing. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have much meaning other than that's the identifying word for overglaze. Now, these two are the same thing, just two different brands. We have a Dunkin' brand, we have a Mako brand, okay? But basically, they're the same thing, they're overglazes. These are mostly opaque, but if you apply them, the least amount of applications to it, the more transparent they'll be. But I'm going to tell you that when you paint something on, when you're glazing, I want you to glaze it on one direction, okay? I'll let it dry, and then paint your second layer on the opposite or crisscrossing that direction, and then maybe a third to really cover the project, okay? A lot of times people rush this process and just brush it on, and they don't think because they can't see through the glaze that it's covered, and then it comes out of the kiln, and they'll see all these brush strokes or areas that are uneven. And you want to avoid that, okay? You want to avoid that. Now, let's go to these right here. We have elementals, crystal glazes, the gem glazes. All of these have very special characteristics. They have little pieces of materials like glass or gems or whatever this is made out of that will do fantastic things in the fire. They'll melt down and they'll burst. If I put it at an angle, it will melt down and kind of run down. If I let it stay flat, it'll just
So this one
burst across
definitely has had
the glaze.
plenty of layers.
Check the charts.
There's really good coverage, if you can see.
Crystals and elementals, these are all the same.
you don't see the clay, maybe right there is the closest thing you get to seeing the clay inside underneath the glaze. So good coverage. Let it dry in between layers, 2 to 3, like this. Lousy coverage. You can see where they put maybe 1 or 2 compared to maybe 1. Okay, unless you want to see the clay body underneath the glaze, try to layer them and layer them one at a time after they dry. Each one, put it on, let it dry, put the next one on.
You're going to want to always shake them up before you use them to get all these crystals and things worked back up into the glaze, and then just brush them on. When you brush them on, don't chip them away, because you want those little pieces of rock or pebble or gem or glass to be on the body of clay, okay? You want it to stay there. That's the dynamic part. Now, these are not in a color family. We can't keep that organized very well. It's impossible to decide what color they belong to when they have multiple colors. So when you're looking for one of these, you're going to want to just dig through there and find it. Okay, it won't jump out at you, right? Again, the initials will tell you what kind of glaze it is. If it's an overglaze, if it's a crystal glaze, or an elemental glaze. The elemental glazes, if you notice, these all basically look the same. Alright? They look the same right now. However, this one's glowing embers. That's got like a different color to it. This one's got more of a red to it, amber ash. This one is a blue grotto, so it's got like bluish stuff to it. This has got brownish stuff to it. These do not represent the color that it would turn out once it's chemically changed in the kiln. Okay? They're gonna change their chemistry and the effect that they look like. Alright? They'll be different. So don't just think that the glazes, the way they look here, is the way they come out in the kiln. They change in the kiln with the heat. Okay? Alright, so far, do you have any questions? No? Not right now? No questions so far? Okay. Alright, let's move over here. We have all these specialty glazes over here. Alright? Alright, when you're using the underglazes, when you're using the underglazes for bisqueware or for greenware, a lot of times, a lot of people will spend a lot of time creating really nice designs to that. They get it fired in the bisque fire, it comes out, and the last thing they need to do is decide if they're going to put a colored overglaze with it, or if they simply want to do a clear coat. Just doing a clear coat is completely acceptable. It's something that a lot of people will do. But I want to point something out to you. One thing I want you to notice is that the clears, these pints, don't throw them away when they're empty. We want to reuse them. So we use the gallons and we just refill them, okay? There are 2 different kinds, there's 3 different kinds of clear. There's a satin clear, a regular clear, and then a crackle clear. So the crackle clear leaves these like cracks on the undersurface of the glaze, and it's just a nice effect. Okay, now what I want you to notice, is
How about now?
how similar
Any questions?
these colors are, the way they are right now, before they get fired. Believe it or not, this fires clear, but when you paint it on, you won't see the project underneath it. It will change. But what happens is if you're not reading the labels and you accidentally grab the wrong thing because it's been misplaced, what will happen is you'll put the wrong glaze on a project and it won't be clear, and it'll be like, for instance, this blue bonnet color completely cover your whole project blue, if you were to choose that. So I really want to encourage you to read the label make sure that you're knowing what kind of glaze you have, that you have the right one that you're looking for, okay? There's the words, there's the numbers, there's usually, for clear, we put it on the lids too. We're trying to make sure that it's easy for you to identify the glaze, okay? Okay? Now, the other part of this cabinet that I want to show you is the specialty glazes. Okay, we have specialty glazes over there. They're the metallic glazes. So we have like an antique pewter and a modern brass and this heirloom silver. We have these gold halo looking colors and there's a green mirror color. All of them are metallic finishes, but none of them are like a pure gold or pure brass or bright yellow version of those colors. This is the best we can get. Maybe if you use a yellow underglaze and then put these on afterwards, it might brighten it up, maybe. But that's to be experimented on. I want to show you here see how uneven that is? So this is a good example of how someone put a coat on but didn't like layer it, okay? And so you can see the brush strokes through there and the unevenness. Okay, so if you really want that, great, that suits you. But if you're not trying to do that, which most of us are not trying to do that, you want to make sure that you're layering it on there, at least 3 layers. Okay?
All right, so back to that
Right,
point.
now that's the metallic glazes.
This says
The other glazes
aqua.
that we have in that cabinet
Okay, this is
are
aqua, the
satin
label.
glazes.
If you don't
Satin
read
glazes have a muted glossy
read
finish.
what kind of
This
glaze
is
you're
a
looking
high
at,
glossy
and this is a
finish.
colored
These
glaze
are all high glossy finish, meaning they're very
versus
reflective of the light. The matte is not glossy at
one of
all.
these.
Satin is like something in the middle. It's somewhere in between the two. It's glossy.
So this is
but
a
it's
satin
not
finish,
high finish
and this
gloss.
is
It's not
a
high
basic
reflective
clear.
gloss.
The
This
clears
glaze is actually really nice to use.
look
You want to use this.
not like clear when you first put them on. So, but when you fire them at high temperatures, they will become clear, unless you don't read the label and there's a color
And then
pigment in
too, I
there.
want to point out that
The only thing
had
that we
I
have
glazed
here
this,
that
I
we
would
didn't
put
have
high
then
gloss for the
was a
dots
matte
to
clear.
have a contrast
Matte clear will
between
be
this finish,
a nice
satin
clear,
finish,
but you
and
won't
high
be able
gloss
to
finish.
see it like it's
So
not
I want you to
glossy,
consider that
but
with
it
some
is
of your
definitely a clear
projects.
coat.
Using more than one finish to put together a combination and make a contrast between the two is an option. Okay, that's something you can do. Now there's a shimmer in there too. It's got more of a glittery look to it. That red jelly bean has the shimmer glaze on there. You can see what that looks like. And those are more of the other specialty glazes that go with this that we just didn't have room for. Okay? You need to be able to know too that these have non-toxic written on them. This little stamp right here, it looks like a parental advisory stamp. That little stamp says to you that it's non-toxic. Some of the older bottles will have a circle and a little 3-prong fork, looks like a fork coming down. That is also telling you that it is non-toxic. Non-toxic means that any liquid or food item that you are planning on eating can be in contact
So
with
that's a
that
little
object
different these
and
days. We do have something a
will
little bit better. Ask me about it.
there's only a few things in the house that are not, they're not safe. They're not food safe. There's only a few though. Most of ours are all non-toxic and user friendly.
Making a crab.
Awesome. I like it.
It's top shelf. This is where it's facing.
The space will be there. Okay.
In the middle, on the bottom. What I did on the bottom is I smoothed out where its faces, when its mouth comes over there. That's a crab's design. The top shell over here, it has a very thin design and then it puts some.
Some of your crabs on there. So when you do the legs, let them get leather hard before you attach them. Awesome. I like it.
So
I can't wait to see it.
that's gonna be my monster.
That's not solid, is it?
This?
Yeah. Is it solid? That's solid. You're gonna wanna hollow that out.
Okay.
That'll just blow up. I'll help you with that in a minute.
Blow up.
Okay. All right. Let me think. What else I need to tell you? When you go to do your glazing, you're gonna want to use a palette, a plate, a tray, a lid, or even the phone book paper. Just pour out what you need carefully, pour them out. Use your brushes, dip them in there. You can mix on your own palette, but never mix inside the containers. Okay? All right. That might be it. There's a lot to know about the glazes. Most importantly is knowing which glaze you have for which stage of the clay. The greenware underglazes versus the bisque underglazes versus all of these overglazes. And you're good. Questions? That's a great
Questions?
That's a really great question. The best way to do that is to look at the charts. This is a Mako chart right here, and right over there on that heater is a Duncan chart. Trust the colors that they show.
Duncan.
They're identical to what's going to happen. Not so much. Yeah, I don't really have a sample of all of them. And they change so frequently, to keep up with samples would be pretty hard to do. You can have one. You know, at this time.
Stop. We done?
I think we're done.
I think that covers it. That is the edits. I'll somehow slice these together so you can see that those changes that have been made to our glaze wall. And I hope you enjoy glazing. You want to take your time. You don't want to rush that process. It's one of the harder things, I think, to do. I find glazing to be challenging myself. And so you want to just kind of take your time and don't rush it, because the better your results are, the nicer your project will turn out. And happy glazing.
Sources on like topics of books, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So the research thing that she's doing is like, it wasn't, her topic was not in that library. So our teacher let us go to a different library, and everybody else stayed in the library, but we went to a different library. And it was like a 5-minute walk, like 5-7 minute walk to the other library. And we saw this guy on like one of those carts, you know, that drives around campus and shit.
Yeah.
And he literally took us.
Oh, cool.
And he showed us, he even let us in because you need like a little pass thingy to get let in. So he let us in. And then whenever we were about to leave, we saw that there was like Panda right there. Well, we didn't even see that there was Panda. There was an art gallery. Whenever we first walked in, that we were like, oh, we're going to look at that before we leave.